Tonight, several developing stories as we come on the air. Sharp reaction from Canada and Mexico to the Trump tariffs and what consumers can expect. Investigators locate the black box in the deadly Philadelphia jet crash and the emotional scene as victims' families visit the D.C. crash site. First, the tariffs. President Trump ordering on imports from America's biggest trading partners, Canada, Mexico, and China, claiming he's doing it in part to stop the flow of drugs and undocumented immigrants into the U.S. Canada reacting swiftly with its own tariffs. American wine and liquor disappearing from store shelves in Quebec. And Canadians booing the Star-Spangled Banner at a hockey game. Businesses and consumers now bracing for impact. The president admitting Americans could feel some pain, but saying it will be worth the price. What this could mean for your wallet, from tomatoes to avocados to the cost of a new car. Our team coverage tonight. The deadly jet crash in Philadelphia. Late today, investigators recovered the cockpit voice recorder. Debris spread over a wide area, and what we're now learning about those who were killed. 6 people on the medical transport jet and at least 1 person on the ground. The emotional scene in Washington, D.C. Victims' families gathering at the site of that midair collision. Efforts to lift the wreckage from the Potomac River set to begin this week. And new details on the 3rd service member who died in the Black Hawk helicopter. The city of New Orleans beefing up security ahead of the Super Bowl. The extraordinary measures being taken. Barricades going up. Drones, K-9 units, and tactical teams. A high-stakes showdown in court. Justin Baldoni and co-star Blake Lively trading accusations over what happened on their movie set. All eyes on the Groundhog Punxsutawney Phil on when winter could end, plus the atmospheric river soaking the West. The blockbuster NBA trade. One of the world's top basketball players is headed to L.A., joining LeBron James and the Lakers. And the special honors for 2 of the best women to play the game. Their number 22 jerseys hanging proudly forever.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us on this Sunday. I'm Whit Johnson. We begin tonight with the battle over tariffs. President Trump imposing steep taxes on the country's 3 largest trading partners, Canada, Mexico, and China, sparking fears of a trade war which could threaten the global economy. President Trump signing executive orders imposing 25% tariffs on all imports from Mexico and Canada and 10% on goods from China. The president says he's protecting and boosting the U.S. economy, blaming those countries for enabling illegal drugs and undocumented migrants to flow into the U.S., accusations they reject. Canada and Mexico vowing to make Americans share the pain. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau imposing 25% tariffs on more than $105 billion of U.S. goods. Canadians voicing their displeasure, booing the Star-Spangled Banner at a hockey game. What all of this could mean for the price of groceries, from avocados to alcohol and the cost of a new car. ABC's senior White House correspondent Selina Wang leads us off from Washington.
Tonight, the United States on the brink of a trade war that threatens to hurt American consumers and upend the global economy.
There could be some temporary short-term disruption.
President Trump signing a trio of executive orders imposing 25% tariffs on imports from Mexico and Canada, with the lower 10% tariff on Canadian oil and gas and 10% tariffs on goods from China. The new measure, set to take effect on Tuesday, could raise prices for Americans at the grocery store and the gas pump. Trump insists that tariffs are necessary to strengthen the U.S. economy, accusing those countries of allowing undocumented migrants and illegal drugs to enter the U.S.
China makes the fentanyl, gives it to Mexico, puts it through Canada, puts it through different places, mostly Mexico, but also a lot through Canada. And so all 3 haven't treated us very well.
All 3 countries, America's 3 biggest trading partners, rejecting Trump's accusations and vowing to retaliate. The Chinese government denouncing the tariffs, which come on top of existing tariffs from Trump's first term, promising countermeasures and urging the U.S. to handle its own fentanyl issues objectively and rationally, without threatening other countries with tariffs. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum ordering retaliatory tariffs and slamming Trump's assertion that her government works with drug cartels as slander, saying if the United States wants to combat criminal groups that traffic drugs and generate violence, we must work together. But the strongest reaction from our ally to the north. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says Canada will retaliate with 25% tariffs on $106 billion worth of American goods, calling on his citizens to buy Canadian.
It might mean opting for Canadian rye over Kentucky bourbon, or foregoing Florida orange juice altogether.
Liquor stores in several Canadian provinces already pulling American-made products from their shelves. Officials in Canada perplexed. U.S. Customs and Border Protection data shows just 1.5% of migrant apprehensions and less than 1% of fentanyl seizures take place along the U.S.-Canada border.
So it's hard to know what more we can do, but we're obviously open to any other suggestions that come our way.
Trump now claiming that Canada is not a viable country without U.S. support. Again, arguing Canada should become the 51st state, much lower taxes, and far better military protection for the people of Canada, and no tariffs. But Canadians outraged. Thousands of hockey fans in Ottawa booing the U.S. national anthem just hours after Trump's tariff announcement. And Whit, tonight we're also learning about growing tensions between Elon Musk and the U.S. Agency for International Development. Sources tell us that two top security officials were put on leave after refusing to allow staffers from Musk's Department of Government Efficiency to access sensitive information within the agency. Whit?
All right, Selina, Wang, thank you. And back on the issue of tariffs, shoppers and businesses are bracing to pay higher prices now. Americans could feel the first impact at the grocery stores and at the gas pumps. And tonight, the warning from the auto industry. Here's ABC's Elizabeth Schulze.
Tonight, American households and businesses are bracing to pay higher prices, with President Trump's sweeping tariffs set to hit nearly half of all imports that enter into the U.S. Tariffs are fees paid by businesses to the U.S. government when products and materials cross the border.
The U.S. importer has to write a check to the U.S. government. And what we saw in the 2018-2019 trade war is that that burden was shifted directly onto American buyers and their customers. So it is Americans who have been shown over and over again to pay the burden of these tariffs, not foreigners.
Economists say the tariffs could cost American households on average up to $1,500 extra per year as businesses pass down higher costs. The first place consumers would feel the hit, in the grocery aisle. 47% of all imported vegetables come from Mexico and Canada, plus 91% of avocados and 87% of tomatoes.
You can't stockpile fresh tomatoes, fresh avocados. So I imagine that in this particular segment of goods, we're going to see those cost increases being pushed forward in a matter of weeks.
Liquor like tequila also set to get more expensive. Small business owners like Amar Harag in San Diego say margins are already tight.
It seems like at every turn we have to look at additional costs to run our business, which then results into that $1-2 increase.
The auto sector also highly exposed. New car prices could go up $3,000 on average if the tariffs stay in effect. And with 60% of imported crude oil coming from Canada, drivers could feel pain at the pump too. Gas Buddies says prices could rise 20 cents in regions like the Midwest and Northeast.
And Elizabeth Schulze joining me now in studio. Good to see you. Elizabeth, we know that some retailers already preparing for these tariffs, stocking up on shipments.
Exactly, Whit. We have seen an uptick in shipping volumes, and some businesses have tried to front load their shipments ahead of these tariffs taking effect. But that is a lot harder to do for retailers who sell perishables or seasonal products. Whit.
Something to watch in the days ahead. Elizabeth Schulze, thank you for coming in tonight. Now to that deadly air ambulance crash in Philadelphia. Late today, NTSB investigators recovering that cockpit voice recorder. Crews scouring the debris field, which covers at least 4 blocks. All 6 people on board the plane and at least 1 person on the ground killed. And at least 22 people were injured. ABC's Stephanie Ramos at the scene in Philadelphia.
Tonight, the NTSB saying they have located the black box of the medical transport jet that plunged to the ground, finding it 8 feet below the impact site. All 6 people on board that jet killed, along with at least 1 person on the ground.
This remains an ongoing investigation. The situation is fluid and it is active.
Investigators from the NTSB, the FBI, and the FAA combing through the large debris field, which extends for at least 4 blocks. Officials calling on the public for help.
If there are citizens or business owners or others who find debris, please email the NTSB at witness@ntsb.gov.
Flight Radar 24 data shows the medevac Learjet was in the air for under a minute. The crash and fireball bringing this northeast Philadelphia neighborhood to a standstill. 5 nearby homes catching fire. The number of injured continuing to grow. At least 22 people now reportedly injured, 3 in critical condition. And tonight, Jet Rescue Air Ambulance identifying the 6 people on board the plane. Among them, 31-year-old Elizabeth Murillo Osuna and her 11-year-old daughter, Valentina Guzman Murillo, who had just received medical care at nearby Shriners Children's Hospital.
And Whit, here at the scene of the crash, this is a very large area and there is a lot of damage. Teams have been conducting what's called grid searches. They're going house to house, inspecting homes in this area, looking for damage or plane debris. Whit.
Yeah, a delicate task ahead. Stephanie Ramos, thank you. Next tonight, the recovery efforts at the Potomac crash site. Dozens of victims' families gathering near the scene for a memorial. Officials saying moments ago that 55 of the 67 victims have been recovered and identified. ABC's transportation correspondent Gio Benitez reports from Washington again tonight.
Tonight, a solemn scene near the crash site where 67 people tragically lost their lives. Dozens of the victims' families gathering for a memorial ceremony on the runway at Reagan National Airport.
These people have suffered a terrible loss. I will say that they are a strong group of families that are focused on getting their loved ones back.
That crash between a Black Hawk helicopter and an American Airlines plane, the deadliest crash in the United States in nearly a quarter century. The NTSB working to determine if there were discrepancies in the tower radar seen by air traffic control, which may have shown the helicopter at 200 feet.
Initial data indicates that he may have seen 200 feet. That needs to be verified. Our ATC group is working it.
But some of the most trusted location data shows the crash happening at just over 300 feet, which is above the Black Hawk's allowed altitude of 200. Investigators now bringing in cranes to help lift the wreckage. So far, 55 bodies have been recovered from the river.
Reuniting those lost in the tragic incident is really what keeps us all going.
And we're learning more about those 67 lives lost Wednesday night. Aboard that Black Hawk, 3 soldiers, 28-year-old Ryan Austin O'Hara, 39-year-old Andrew Lloyd Eves, and 28-year-old Rebecca Lobach. Her family releasing a statement saying Rebecca was a warrior and would not hesitate to defend her country in battle. An Army captain, Rebecca also served as a White House military social aide, seen here escorting fashion designer Ralph Lauren during the Presidential Medal of Freedom ceremony just last month.
Rebecca was a selfless servant. She was the type of person that would give you the shirt off her back if she needed to.
Just so much heartache. And Whit, the NTSB is now confirming that 5 people were in air traffic control at the time of the accident. 3 of them have already been interviewed. As for that wreckage, we're told it could take all week to pull it out of the Potomac. Whit.
Gio Benitez for us. Thank you. This week, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is heading to Washington, D.C. for a meeting with President Trump amid the ongoing Gaza ceasefire and hostage exchange. Let's bring in ABC's Britt Clennett in Tel Aviv. And Britt, the hostages include some Americans still in captivity.
They do, Whit, and these talks with the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu very much focused on phase 2 of this ceasefire deal. President Trump wants the war to end, and he wants all those hostages released, including those 6 Americans. Now, Netanyahu still weighing the possibility of another round of fighting in Gaza, as Hamas shows they are still in control of the streets there, and that will be a point of contention with the president. The 2 leaders also expected to discuss Iran and a potential normalization deal between Israel and Saudi Arabia. Now, before heading to D.C., Netanyahu said Israel and the U.S. will continue to redraw the map of the Middle East. Critical to the big picture here is the West Bank, where Israel is intensifying its operations. Explosions ripping through Jenin, a city known as a militant stronghold.
Britt Clennett for us tonight. Thank you. Now to that blockbuster trade in the NBA. The Lakers, Mavericks, and Jazz completing a 3-team trade deal that sends Luka Doncic to Los Angeles and Anthony Davis to Dallas. And what this could mean for superstar LeBron James. Here's ABC's Melissa Adon.
Tonight, a seismic shift in the NBA. Superstar LeBron James has a new teammate after a blockbuster deal no one saw coming.
Another shocking NBA trade with massive implications for
the Dallas Mavericks trading their franchise superstar Luka Doncic to the Los Angeles Lakers for former NBA champion Anthony Davis. The 5-time All-Star was the face of the Mavericks, leading them to the NBA Finals last season. But behind the scenes, concerns were growing.
He was eligible for a 5-year, $350 million Supermax extension this offseason. And then they felt Anthony Davis was going to give them a better chance defensively and to potentially win a championship.
For Dallas, it's a shocking move. They now move forward with 31-year-old Davis and Kyrie Irving. The trade coming as a shock to LeBron James, learning about it after Saturday's win in New York against the Knicks. 40-year-old James still one of the league's best players, but he now has Doncic to take the reins and future.
There are going to be plenty of hypotheticals, but there are no indications that LeBron James is leaving Los Angeles.
The Slovenian superstar is expected to train here in LA and join the Lakers. We'll be waiting to see how soon he takes the court and joins LeBron James.
All right, Melissa Don, thanks so much. There is still much more ahead on World News Tonight this Sunday. The risk of dangerous flash floods in the West. And will it be an early spring? Punxsutawney Phil with his forecast, plus 2 superstars, 2 jerseys retired and their impact on the game. Next tonight, just 1 week until Super Bowl 59. The Chiefs and the Eagles headed out to New Orleans today. Security is extra tight there. Hundreds of federal, state, and local officers on duty. Barricades have gone up with drones overhead. This comes after the New Year's truck attack that killed more than a dozen people. Well, the legal battle between actors Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni heads to court tomorrow. Lively and husband Ryan Reynolds hope to get Baldoni's defamation lawsuit dismissed. Lively has accused Baldoni of sexual harassment while making the film It Ends With Us. He denies it. When we come back, a winter warm-up and the threat of flash floods. To the index now, the world-famous groundhog, Punxsutawney Phil, saw his shadow. So you know what that means. Tradition says that means 6 more weeks of wintry weather. It won't feel that way, though, tomorrow in much of the country, especially in the south. Temperatures could be 20 to 30 degrees above normal. Houston could get into the 80s. Meanwhile, the atmospheric river that's pounding the west is expected to move into Southern California by Tuesday night, a storm raising the risk of flash flooding and mudslides in burn zones across LA County. And tonight's Grammy Awards will have a different tone as Los Angeles recovers from the wildfires. The organization has raised millions for those impacted by the disaster. On the music side of things, Beyoncé leads the nominations with 11, making 99 for her career, the most of any artist. But will she finally take home Album of the Year for Cowboy Carter? Remarkably, she's never won that award. When we come back tonight, 22 times 2, a special honor for 2 of the best to play the game. Finally tonight, the special honors for 2 of the best.
2 women, 2 undeniable legacies. Tonight, their jerseys raised to the rafters. A'ja Wilson, a 2-time Olympic gold medalist, 3-time WNBA MVP, winning 2 championships with the Las Vegas Aces, emotional, holding back tears as the South Carolina Gamecocks retired her number 22.
Chase your dreams without fear.
From West Des Moines, Iowa! Hours later, Caitlin Clark's number 22 jersey for the University of Iowa also retired. Today, the all-time women's NCAA Division I scoring leader, bringing one more sellout crowd to Carver Hawkeye Arena. The basketball phenom drafted number 1 overall in 2024, going on to play for the Indiana Fever, where she broke the WNBA's rookie scoring record with 789 points and was named Rookie of the Year. inspiring future generations.
She's my idol. It's really exciting to see how she plays. You learn a lot of moves because of her.
In a previous interview, Clark telling our Robin Roberts about her impact on the sport.
Somebody that inspired, not only the state of Iowa, but people around the country to, hopefully chase after your dreams, whether you're 5 years old or whether you're 90 years old.
And both careers just getting started. Thanks so much for watching tonight. Have a great night.
Thank you for making World News Tonight with David Muir, America's most watched newscast.